had one ad from Canva, took me 2 minutes to make. That ad done like 3 million quid.
What's the best growth hack that you've had over the last few years?
Meet Connor Martin, the 29-year-old founder who scaled his fragrance business to $100 million in revenue, all from his bedroom.
I've never heard of somebody manufacturing out of their bedroom.
Like if you let a cigarette in it, the whole...
Armed with an aggressive strategy, a laptop, and a Barclays card, he took the Essence Vault from a local market stall to a multi-brand business, disrupting the fragrance space.
Within the first hour, we were sold out. We were the first in the UK to have TikTok ads. We had one guy, he made 55 grand in a month. Never made a video before that.
Tune in to hear this ecom powerhouse's playbook and the challenges he's faced along the way.
Once we get to that 200 million mark, we'll start buying brands. We didn't know where about 30,000 orders were. On Black Friday, we went to 2 or 3 UK companies and the quotes we got were through 3 million. In China, 56,000.
That's mental. That's mental. How did you go to the next step towards that 100 million? What strategies you looked at?
I never got it.
That is solid.
No, Connor, thanks for joining us here. I think it's one we've been particularly excited for 2 reasons really. One is you're the founder who scaled the brand from 0 to over 100 million in revenue. Now the founder of a group with multiple brands and a 3PL. I think on a personal level, it's nice to have someone else in the pod that people won't really understand his accent as well. There's been a bit of grief, a bit of feedback on that. So yeah, delighted to have you here and thanks for joining us. Before we jump in, look, you've made it to unbelievable heights here and scaled one of the biggest brands in the UK. I have to hear where it all began though, because it sounds like a crazy story.
Fuck. Bedroom. Classic bedroom brand. It was, you know what, it was funny because pretty much give a different answer every time someone asked me this, you know, but always loved perfume. Always loved perfume. Had a bottle of CK1, the big metal.
I do, yeah. It has the kind of cloudy outside. Yeah.
I always had a bottle of that in my bag, and I used to mix it with Old Spice deodorant.
No.
Swear to God, in a fucking like a cereal bowl.
Sorry, what?
So, yeah. I was just like, how can I make this better? I was 12. Pouring in, and to be fair, it stunk. It was awful. But yeah, and then went to uni in Liverpool, and obviously Liverpool's got a real like Saturday market sort of atmosphere. Went down, got a load of perfume off one of the stalls. It was like 3 for a £5. It was terrible. Just pure sensitive skin and enhancement. All them didn't last, rash and skin stuff, and then but then university started trying to make perfume. Failed over and over again. I think I racked out about 16 grand in the credit card just trying to get it, because you have to buy all these ingredients, and the minimums and blah blah blah. But eventually got it right, and then it was only ever supposed to be a Saturday market. You know, we were going to go to the Saturday markets. First one was incredible. We done 400 quid, and it was up all night the night before. We used to gift wrap everything. But done it before they were sold. Didn't even think, oh, just do it in front of the customer. Yeah. So 4 hours pre-packing all this perfume, put it in the box, and first one great. Second one was up at Nuts Corner, about half an hour away from where I live, and I had to be there for 3 o'clock in the morning to get a good stall. They fucked me straight at the back, so it was just shite stall anyway. 3 quid.
Oh, wow.
I was there from 3 a.m. to 12. 3 quid. 3 quid. Yeah.
You're not close to packing it in.
Yeah, because because in hindsight it's so good because you're in front of customers from day one.
Yeah.
So you don't need to spend advertising. It's literally you've got the bottle, customer smells it, and you can see even if they don't tell you anything, you can see right they liked it, but why didn't they buy it? You know, so obviously after I worked in sales, so obviously you're trying to sell to the customer at the same time. Now of course you got that smells like cat piss. Why is that so? Well, first of all, why is that so cheap? There must be cat piss in it. Second of all, why is that so dear? Who do you think you are? And that was in the space of 10 minutes. Do you know? So all of a sudden, you really learn about customer surveys. Do you know? Yeah. And what not to take is with a grain of salt. But then, yeah, we had one more booked, so I was about to pack it in because the prep time and stuff. Well, at that time, perfumes wasn't even the main part of it. Perfumes was like back at the table, and it was candles and wax melts and lip balms. And then everyone wanted the perfume, so the next one, perfumes went in front, everyone else went behind. But 3 quid, packed it in, cried my eyes out. Because there's 16 grand in the fund. And a Bartlett got the brand. Bartlett fired 1 to be paid back, and I'm giving them 3 quid. And then we had one more booked. It was coming up to Christmas, so it was like first week of December, and it was a 3-day event. So I took all the stock we had from that. I thought, fuck it, I'm not going to make any more. Just going to have what we have, and if it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, give up. Within the first hour, we were sold out. Everything gone. And then we rang my dad, and I was like, Dad, get your fucking horse into my bedroom and make perfume here.
Where's the cereal bowl?
Where's the Old Spice? Yeah, and then
Just different customers then, or why? Like, nothing would have changed in that time period.
it's sort of, so obviously Nuts Corner is sort of more your standard, so your pillows and your pillowcase duvets and like your clothes, and then like an artisan market would be more like your craft stuff, you know, so like you had like fancy bath soaps and, you know, all handcrafted stuff. So I think it was like in that time you had maybe 4 candle people, and we were the only fragrance, we were the only perfume one, you know. So I think it was the fact that we're the only one, and the fact that we would have been the only one sort of ever, because that sort of market, you have to hand make it, you know. So naturally perfume, these other sellers are buying it from China, blah, 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 so they're not making it here. So it's a nice wee touch, and obviously at that stage we sold one of them bottles for £10, you know, so it's like sort of, it's enough just to test it, you know. So that's when we done them 3. We made, I think we made about 2,500 on them 3 days, and then that sort of sets up.
That's when you knew this could actually be something.
Yeah, so that was 2019, and then obviously got the website set up. Website was only ever supposed to be like, if you sprayed it, I could give you a wee leaflet and say, look, buy it online later on. Yeah. And sort of COVID forced us into being online. So probably February that year, so we closed, obviously the country shut in March. February we started doing a wee bit of influencer marketing. And we sort of, you know, done, you know, Founder, one of the courses, done the Stern scale there, and they were all about giving free product, like a zoned in niche. So we picked Mrs. Hinch wannabes. So all of the girls that wanted to be Mrs. Hinch, cleaning and stuff, started sending them free product. Obviously shipping times were a bit slower back then, so we waited 5 days, didn't get a sale, and thought, oh, fuck it. And then like 11:30 at night, phone just goes, you know, the Shopify, ka-ching.
Yeah.
It went off, and Jesus, must be my alarm or something. Opened up one order, 27 quid, and going, oh my God, this must be something. And I looked to see, like, is it from here? No, it was like, I think it was some girl in like Manchester or something. And I was like, she didn't know us.
Yeah.
That was the real spur moment. And then 11:30 at night, I jump out in the boxers, go into the spare bedroom. Now, I mean, my spare bedroom was here. I'm telling you, here. And like, if you let a cigarette in it, the whole dog looked up. And straight in to make her order, and then left my phone in the bedroom. Ka-ching, ka-ching. Another one. I think that within that hour, 250 quid. And then the next day, called in sick, and just,
You knew that.
it's just every girl that cleaned her house online just messaged, sent it pretty full out. And yeah, it really started to sort of snowball. And then left my job. And so worked out, had to make 155 quid a day.
Okay.
That's how much I had to do to buy the stock and, you know, pay everything else. Left. And so we were doing that for about 2 weeks, and then left my job on the Monday, no sales for the full week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, zada, nothing. I actually had a return or something. And I was going, what the fuck have I just done? And just the Saturday market, so we had a market on the Saturday, done it, and then we done £800 on the market and 700 quid on the website. And that was the beginning.
Can I, sorry to jump in, like, you hear of a lot of bedroom ecom brands that explode. I've never heard of somebody manufacturing out of their bedroom. Like,
Don't tell the council here. No, we were past.
but like, in the very early days, like, were you basically buying like vats of chemicals into your house?
No, so so you can buy well, and put it in perspective. Now we buy tons. So we buy tons of an oil. So we get it formulated. It's our blend. We get it manufactured at a compound manufacturer. Back then we were doing 125 grams, Joe. So less than that pint of a single oil. They only had 20 fragrances on the website, Joe. So it was a shelf from the pound shop, put up, and all these wee bottles on it. So it was quite small scale, but like 125 mil or grams of oil would cost about 20 quid. Joe. So when you had fuck all and you had a credit card balance to pay, that was all you could buy. you know, but as time went on, we obviously went up in size, and then obviously that let us get discounts and stuff.
And how the hell do you like learn to make perfumes? Like what did you look on YouTube or what?
Crazy. So like the YouTube videos, the forums, I scarred and could never get it right. Couldn't get it right, and I thought this is the big boys not wanting to make perfume, and just bend all that and just thought, right, let's put it down in perspective, right? Oil and alcohol, right? Let's try and get it working. And eventually, it just clicked.
Like you just literally mixing it yourself.
That was so the 16 grand literally was in spurts of 4. So first one was 4 grand. Buy all this stuff, all wrong, all shite, right? Set aside. Next 4 grand. Wait until head down a wee bit. Boom. Wrong again, and we had 2 months, boom again, and eventually just the first 2 times was completely from like YouTube tutorials and stuff, and it was all
Nonsense. Yeah.
You talked about the early days, you mixing Bold Spice with scents. So you were your own first customer.
I always loved fragrance, and I was very I wouldn't say I was very picky, but I knew I didn't care what it smelled like. I wanted it to last. I sweat it like fucking smell. Swear to God. We had to wear these blue shirts, blue shirts, and it was like a sky blue, and see the seg and you sweat it, and then boom, big master rise. I was like, I stink. I didn't actually smell it, just sweat it, but I needed the spray. But eventually got I'd CK1, so it didn't last long, but I had it with me, sprayed it all the time, and I thought, why don't we just not put more oil in this? Why do we not? Obviously, you've got different levels of fragrance. You've got cologne, which is 5% oil. You've got EDT, which is anything from 5 to 10% oil. You've got EDP, which ours are, which is anything from about 15 to 25. Then you can go extract, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, all you need to do is put more oil in it, and it lasts, you know.
But it's funny. So I've worked with brands where I was not the target audience. And you're trying to do surveys, you're trying to speculate on like, will they like this influencer? Will they like this style? I'm watching you guys building Bull Golf at the moment, and Jack's brother Robbie is like the target customer, and it's just so much easier. Like you'll just give him samples if he likes it.
It's also like, it's like, will you buy that?
Yes.
It's like, I'll wear that.
Yeah.
If I'll wear that, then like
More importantly, why wouldn't you buy it? Do you know what I mean?
True.
Because that's the key part, because that helps all products. Is like, why wouldn't you buy this? And it's so much easier.
Do you know what? For forever, the first thing I always tell people when they come to me and they're like, I have an idea. And I'm like, will you stop asking people like me if it's a good idea? Stop asking your mates if it's a good idea. Yeah. It's real simple. Get a HubSpot license for 50 quid or an email thing. Ask a lad on Upwork to get you like 1,000 emails and just fire out 1,000 emails and selling something that doesn't exist. Make a 1-page website if you need to. Like, you can do all that for about 500 quid. Yeah. And if no one responds, don't bother doing it. Come up with a new idea. Like,
I had something that someone put on, I think it was Twitter, and it was a bit similar to that, but all it was a fake product render from ChatGPT with a lead ad on Facebook with the fake buy it. So sign up for our wait list. And they do it for like bottle designs. So they'll say you're launching a body wash. Hint, we are. So you'll do 5 body wash designs, and then you go sign up for our wait list for our pre-order, and then you'll pick your winner off how many people signed up to the biggest. You know?
And running Facebook ads is like, it's set up literally algorithmic to put everything in front of someone and tell you what works. Yeah. Like, that's literally how it works. So it's unbelievable. Remember Ryan from Jolie?
Yes.
Before he launched the shower head, he did surveys with like 2,000 people, and all he did was said, how much would you pay for this?
Yeah.
And he literally had surveys going up to like 600 quid down to like 20 quid, and like bang in the middle where like the majority of the customers was like 130 quid or whatever it is, 150 quid. And he went, perfect. It's 150 quid. I need to make it for this much to make this much margin. Like, now I know exactly what I need to do. Yeah. Like,
and it's such an undermined piece to do. And it's, you could, especially with ChatGPT now, you could bash it in 20 minutes.
Big time.
Yeah. The big challenge is, say you're running Facebook ads, like you pay 50 quid, no results, 500 quid, 5 grand. You know, it's knowing how far do you test it before you scrap it and move on.
How to give it a fair chance.
Yeah.
But you need money to do that.
I think if you give it a control, have something that's already launched, and then control it off that, because if that doesn't get any fucking links, then that's a bad product. But you know, it sort of gives you a good balance.
Do you know when you're a young lad though and you're getting going, you're fucking right. Like, I don't need it. I don't need a survey.
Sorry, we're still doing that.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, exactly.
You're right about bold though. Like there's times where Jack will say, Jamie, will you come into this room here and have a look at this t-shirt? What do you think of it? And I'll look at it and say, I like the shape of it, the materials, like, oh, but I'm not sure about the colour here. And like Robbie will walk in and go, that's shit. And he's the ICP. So for Robbie coming in saying, that's shit, we know that shit. Like it's so much easier when you are your own buyer to make those gut decisions.
We had a skincare brand, Xena Skin. We had it for about a year. We closed it, and ultimately the decision was, I'm not the ICP, or the ICP is not really in the office. Do you know, it's like, why are we doing it?
Yeah.
Do you know what
Was that it? Yeah.
Yeah. We got it okay. It was doing every $3,000 a day, but repeat customer wasn't there for a product that should have been there.
Yeah.
And you know, we probably could have pushed more money into it, blah blah. But you know, we pivoted to Thompson Car, and the success was so clear because I would buy that. You know, and it's easy to say, right? I know the problem with fragrance in general. I know how to fix it. Here it is. But you know, when it's less risky as well, because you're like, well, fuck, if no one else buys it, I'll use it. Do you know? So it's
Out of interest, what other? Obviously, you're in your like niche at the moment. Body wash you mentioned there, and other things. Like, what brands would you start today? Or if you
So again, going with that ICP role, I would have to I would take my full day and go like, right, well, what part of it can I improve based on something? So the next one we were supposed to launch electrolytes, too late for the market.
Just too competitive?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Especially see with the likes of Chinese supplements now, there's some really good Chinese factories, but then there's other ones and they just fill it with shite, and you're competing with people that are a tenth of the price. Do you know what I mean? And it's really, unless you're first or close to first with all of these benefits, it's harder to comprehend in something like a electrolyte, because you could drink water and feel hydrated, or you could drink my thing. It definitely makes you more hydrated, but you can't really, you don't know it. So like the next one we want to launch is sleep. You know, so it'll be spend a lot of time in the States and use melatonin patches, and really worked for sleep, especially with jet lag and stuff. So obviously UK, you don't allow melatonin, but there's a few other things that sort of mimic that effect, and will be a great alternative, because most of the market now is tablet based, so magnesiums and all that stuff, whereas a patch absorbs faster, absorbs for longer, whereas if you take a magnesium tablet or any sleep tablet, it sort of spikes and troughs, whereas a patch will stay consistent through the whole night's sleep. So that's sort of the next one. But again, the brands we have at the minute, having a lot of focus on them right now, and they're growing quite well. So that's like a pet project, you know. So it's like we can, you know, because of the setup we can launch these brands at a really cheap setup. The real cost comes after you want to scale it, you know, your second order and blah blah. But like, we've got the cost to take because we've got distribution. We could launch that sleep brand for 11 grand, you know, and get up to about 100 grand's worth of sales with no ad spend, right enough. But that's a good starting point. And you know, and we've really honed in on that whole process in terms of, we've got a really, really sick brand guy, this mad Serbian guy, and he's phenomenal. Give him 8,000 and he does everything: your landing pages, website, product images, your ICPs. Honestly, it's madness, and it's one fixed price.
I'm skipping ahead here through the growth journey of Essence Vault, which we'll come back to, but where you're at right now with, say, the Jack Group and these brands, like, how do you decide? Obviously, you're looking at parts of your day that you want to improve and think about products there, but how do you decide, like, now's the time to go? Now we've got the traction. The other brands, the 3 fragrance brands, are doing fine. It's now time to focus on something new.
I don't know. No, I think, like, once you're at scale, there's a lot of testing phases, you know. So, like, say, for example, at the minute, I'm really focused on secondary products for the Essence Vault. So, like, body wash, deodorant, that sort of thing. So, once I have them done, formulated, ready for sale, and they go, there's no point in me looking at them for another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then that's the time when we go for 3 weeks on sleep, and then come back once we've got a bit of data in terms of, right, formulation's wrong or blah, blah. But we spend so much time on it that naturally, thankfully, it does always hit the nail on the head, where we've got the right price point, right product, and it just needs time.
Yeah.
So we've switched to very subscription sort of, not so much heavy but focused in terms of them repeatable products. And that's sort of the time. It just needs time. Like we launched Thompson Carter's body wash. September was a soft launch, and we first 400 bottles, 397 of them went to the existing customer base, like in a day. So we done that. We ran out of stock, and obviously we had to wait 3 months for the stock to come in. So then we focused on other things.
So you'll run a campaign to the Essence Vault customers to say we're launching this new brand.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, it's not brands. So we separate the brands. We keep them all separate. But in terms of obviously the body wash for Thompson Carter, but we sort of have a big thesis on NPD. So we'll have it as acquisition NPD, which is basically anything that can support acquisition, or we'll have complete secondary NPD. So that'll be like the Thompson Carter bag, whereas like we might not get any more CAC out of this, but it'll be perfect for the repeating customer.
LTV boost, yeah.
Yeah.
How was he? Yeah, go for it. No, go for it. When you talk about like acquisition, like products, do you mean like cheaper products to bring customers in to then sell more?
Not necessarily. So say, for example, we've got fragrance for Tev, right? So fragrance for Tev are CAC's 18 quid, for example. How can we get CAC to 22 quid? So that obviously means where we need at least a £6 AOB lift, or we need at least a 2% increase in RCR. So as soon as we have that with an acquisition product, so like bundle, and so like instead of doing the 3-pack of perfumes, we can do a 3-pack and a body wash, and all of a sudden we can change from 50 quid to 65 quid. And then that gives £15 more margin, and we can go for the.
So your goal is, I want to acquire more customers, which means I want to ramp up some spend. That's probably going to lead to an increase in CAC. If we can absorb an extra 6 quid in CAC, how do I bring that in the LTV?
I think everyone, and I think this is where a lot of agencies go wrong as well, because they always operate on how can we get CAC the lowest possible. When in reality, it should be how can we get CAC high as possible. Obviously, I don't want to go to a second order or first order negative. I want first order to be profitable or break even. How can I do that at £22 CAC? Because if I can do it at £22 CAC, I don't need to spend as much on creatives. I don't need to spend as much on the background. It can just be on the product,
So Thompson Carter is kind of a premium luxury brand. Does the playbook change when you're in that space versus?
It changes visibly, in terms of like the type of creatives you can do. So Thompson Carter, obviously, fragrance. We can't smell fragrance, so you're fucking fun. So you have to visualize it. So we tried visualizing it, didn't work, because no matter how many times I show you flowers, you don't give a fuck. But we changed our sort of thesis on creatives to third-party social proof. So that'll be like, you're walking down the street and going like, fuck, you smell class. What is that? And like them ads brand for us because it was third-party social proof. So it's like you're mimicking what you want that customer to feel. So it's a completely different segment, whereas Tev will be more offer-based, but blend-based. This is this price, it's only this price per day, whereas Thompson Carter is more, let's not mention price, which is extremely hard.
Just for clarification, Tev is the Essence Vault.
Even running discounts, promotions with a premium brand is just a lot tougher because.
Yeah, you've got the other thing. So obviously owning them two brands, so you've got Tev, which is hate it in fragrance, despise in fragrance, by perfumers, even though we connect the customer to the perfumer and then they know their fragrance. But then people assume Thompson Carter's also just shite, which Essensville isn't, but they assume shite, we're just packaging it better. And we're not. Different perfumer, different suppliers, even the alcohol is different. So it's not even the same alcohol. The alcohol for TC is from a beetroot, weirdly. But it just it smells a little bit cleaner, very, very, a lot more expensive. But like in comparison, the Thompson Carter lid is more expensive than that whole thing.
Really?
Wow. And it's like, that's what we're making with Thompson Carter. It's not the same thing, but no matter how many times you say that, it's like, oh, I've checked Company's House. It's the same company. It's like, fuck me.
Do you know what? I'm so impressed. I've never met anyone who has it down to a T so much. It's just nailed it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fuck, you should see my books. I don't.
Like, genuinely, I've never heard anyone, like, were you good at maths in school? Was this a...
My dad was always good at maths.
Was he? Yeah.
I just done the bare minimum. Couldn't do tests. Could do coursework okay, but couldn't do tests. Fuck, I'd love coursework now. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, changed big time, didn't it? No more.
I'd be a top costume. I'd be a surgeon somewhere, fucking people up for a living.
And very poor.
You're right though. Like, and I think if we go back to your journey, you've went to the market, you've tested your product, you've been making it in your bedroom, you've now went online, you see this works. Some things you've said already have led me to believe you do things a little differently, you think a little differently. But where that growth phase now from COVID's hit, I'm online, I'm Shopify, I'm hearing the chick-chings. What were the big growth hacks, or what were the big channels you used to get this to 100 million?
If I'm honest, the first one was COVID.
Okay.
So first one was COVID. COVID was, as so bad as it sounds, COVID was fantastic for us because we were able to grow on a platform where we could, honestly, I had one ad from Canva, took me 2 minutes to make. It was black and white checkers, a perfume bottle, and 10% off on the bottom. That ad done like 3 million quid. Do you know, and it was like a £2 CPA. It was fucking wild. We used to
Pounds. Yeah.
Wayflyer still said no to us. That's just,
I was John Pierce personally.
You buying crypto?
Sorry, can you tell us what month and year that was? Because I know exactly who was underwriting that. Yeah.
You can be sure Jack wasn't underwriting it anyway.
no, but we opened the website Saturday and Sunday, closed it all week to process the orders because obviously the only other thing that was being used with ethanol was hand sanitizer. So we couldn't get our hands on it.
You're joking. Because of COVID.
Because of COVID. That's why. But we were able to, just took a lot of time, but open Saturdays and Sunday, closed all week.
I've never heard anyone treat their online store like a physical store, or like I've opening hours here because I can't handle it.
It wasn't planned. It was more like, right, how can we get as many orders as possible in this short time period? Because I am still packing these orders, do you know?
Even the concept of, you know, your Facebook ads are going into the learning period.
No, there's no learning period back then. It was just, you put something up and it sold. Do you know, it was wild. It was wild. Like one creative, I'm telling you, one creative. UGC, wasn't it? I'd never done UGC. It's just that one ad.
And you think that was just because of COVID? A lot of brands had to stop spending on Facebook because they couldn't actually sell their product. There was just a free-for-all auction, basically.
Yeah. We were lucky because, and we still are, all of our stuff's UK based. You know, so our fragrances have to be UK based. Well, they don't have to be, but it's a lot easier from a testing point of view. So like all fragrances, and a lot of our competitors don't do this, but they all have a thing called an IFRA. So that's International Fragrance Regulatory Association. Definitely got that wrong. Basically, they get a one-pager sheet, and then we have to go and make our safety reports off that. So it's all it's a massive process, but because it's UK based, the fragrances are already safety tested at one part, and then we just have to do the second part. Whereas if we were buying a fragrance oil from China, then obviously we have the concern of, right, what's in it isn't actually what it says on the tin, and then we have to go do further testing. You know,
So to slow you down.
so it's like right now, we can match a fragrance, order a fragrance, and have it live within 4 to 6 weeks. If we done that in China, it'd be 6 months.
How much of your marketing strategy is around formulated in Europe, you know, made locally, in terms of marketing?
A lot of it, you know, because obviously, especially in cosmetic, UK manufactured holds a lot more than the two words, you know, that say, you know, it's like safety, it's regulation, whereas, you know, it's hard at the price point because people assume if it's made in the UK, it has to be expensive. Yeah. You know, when it doesn't, it's just the majority of UK people are lazy bastards, you know, and it's like, and it's true, because see if I try and outreach to a company, I've actually got it at the minute with a packaging supplier, and I'm reaching out, he's actually reaching out to me, I'm going, this is class, I want to go for it. No response. Can you please email me? No response. Yeah. Can you please email me? Oh, I need to give you to this rep that does Northern Ireland. Right, okay. He doesn't respond. He's in 2 weeks holiday. And going like, just someone fucking give me the box. And whereas in China, it's
too deep.
You know, she just WhatsApp calls you and you can't understand each other. Not only they don't understand her, because in Northern Ireland, she can't understand a fucking word I'm saying. But she somehow still gets the symbol right.
Yeah, they always get it right. The Alibaba app, you message somebody, 30 seconds later, you have a full response. They're ready to send samples.
And then 50 other people call there as well.
See that as an RFQ text or something, then it just, every battery. But I think a big thing for us has also been events, like in-person events in terms of supplier. So we've got one in Amsterdam next week. And like, you get a lot of people, because obviously you don't think about it, but it costs a lot of money to get on the front page of Alibaba, whether it be like their version of SEO or ads, whereas then people at events, like they spend maybe 20 grand to get there, but all they need is one client. Like they're fantastic, and like our costs. I remember the glass supplier. I met him at an event in England, and he was just one guy, and he had a white pop-up table with 5 or 6 balls on it. I was like, "There's no way that fucker's real." And we went out and met him in China, and like the place, he's the biggest glass supplier in China, and like he does all the big brands, and yeah, it's wild. And he was just him and thingy, and he was like, I'll come see you the next day. And he goes, "I'm fucking Northern Ireland, and you won't." Lo and behold, the next day he was there with his wee bag.
Oh, no way.
Thing. But if that was a UK company, it's, let's set up a meeting in 4 weeks' time.
Like,
Joe, and then we'll miss that meeting, and then it's wild.
That's why I always think it's funny with the stuff like tariffs and things going on. If anyone thinks that like manufacturing is going to move from China back to America, it's like they can't make it.
But there's like a base level of infrastructure that needs to be there to manufacture the machines that manufacture the product.
But they'll come from China.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt about that. You know, like I think every Tesla factory is made in China. Yes. You know, like the internal. You know, so even though it's made in USA, still Chinese machinery. Yeah. Like for body wash, we wanted to blend body wash ourselves, build the whole thing in house. We went to 2 or 3 UK companies, and the quotes we got were anything from 850 grand to 3 million for. I mean, now the machines probably would be the size of this room. Joe, so like the big vessels, your pours. In China, $56,000.
That's mental. It's insane.
Far better than what we were getting.
Oh yeah. Because that's
Jonas. Obviously, it'll arrive, it'll blow up, and you have to fix it. But lo and behold, it's still a lot cheaper than getting it from the UK. Yeah.
So back in that journey from 0 to 100 million, you were able to ride that COVID wave. That's a good timing, where CPAs were dirt cheap. 2 questions really. One is, how long can you ride that for until competition came back, prices went up, and what else did you do then to get towards that 100 mil?
It's a good question. So I actually don't think it was anything we done. I think it was just the fact that we were consumable. Okay. You know, so I think we were very, obviously when we're getting debt providers and stuff, that's the big worry, you know, because you're growing so fast over COVID. And I think like if you look at this 1-tier DDCs like Allbirds and stuff, like they went under, or close to, I don't know if they've went under, but close to going under, because they've read that wave and they can't match it. You know, and somebody around that table should have said, right, well, we just have to, operating costs have to go to 10%, and we have to ride the wave at 10% of everything. But because we were consumable, I think that just took care of itself. Okay. You know, where in reality, like even today, I still think we spend too much on Meta, Google, TikTok. I think word of mouth are sort of unspoken hero, because think about it, you're going into an office of 100 people. You smell nice, that's the essence of it. All of a sudden there's 100 customers. You know, and I think that combined with the fact that we're consumable, going back to the office, it gave us that.
Oh, kept it up, basically.
You know? Okay. Like we still grew. I think we grew the same percentage the year of COVID than the year after COVID. And I think that was down to that, you know?
Yeah, because I never actually thought about it, but perfume and aftershave, something I thought would have struggled during COVID because you couldn't leave your house.
Couldn't be too mean, really.
Yeah.
You know, saying.
Some of us were still leaving our houses.
I was fucking loaded up on aftershave, so I was. And to be fair, I made more people over COVID than the house since.
Will we grab another pint before we dive into more of your growth hacks? Yeah. Cheers, boys.
Cheers, lads.
They weren't as well poured as the last ones, I tell you. No, Barman Bollard wasn't on them. So Connor, look, we've covered the starting in the bedroom, trying out of markets. COVID hits, you're online, you're able to grow really quickly with cheap CPAs, CPMs, because competition, say, was down. But whenever COVID started to ease up, people went back to the office. Word of mouth played a big part because people could finally get close to one another and smell each other. How did you go to the next step, though, towards that 100 million? What sort of strategies you looked at? Like influencer is a big one for you.
Paid is obviously the big thing. I think TikTok as well was, TikTok sort of, again, was, TikTok ads was sort of coming out of that COVID peak.
That was early TikTok, wasn't it? Yeah.
We were the first in the UK to have TikTok ads. Wow. Yeah, so I think there was 10 of us at the start. So when it was like attribution was fucking horrendous. Like you're scaling on like point one of a ROAS. Like, and
What made you take that risk and try it, the new channel?
I think so. We're obviously in a market with a very slender USP in terms of our direct competitors. You know, so we have to be the ones that are bullish. You know, so if we can be bullish, we obviously right now because of our size, we've got economies of scale. You know, we've got really glued in supply chain, but we still need to take them risks. It's more about once we don't take that risk, all of a sudden our second competitor becomes the big one on TikTok, and then we've lost that spark. You know, so I think it was just relativity as well. It's like everyone loves TikTok. We need to be on TikTok. You know, so it's not like how do we make. It's not about if TikTok works. It's how do we make it work.
Gotcha.
You know, so and like in the early days there was fuck all attribution. Everyone was back to surveys. You know, it was customer surveys. It was like 20% of our customers have found us on TikTok. 20% of our ad budget has to go on TikTok. That was it.
It's funny though. At the time, you heard of people talking about TikTok brands. They're a TikTok brand, and it was just because they had gotten really good. Do you remember there was a load of
Yeah, there was loads of fidget spinners. Was the first TikTok-y.
But there were a load of big like sweet or candy companies that did the videos of them packing the boxes.
And that was sort of first phase. Second phase is like brands like Care Syrup. I think it's Lucy McLeod. Like phenomenal brand. You know, and it's very similar to us in terms of like the packaging. It's not minimal, you know, but it's a product that speaks volumes, you know, and she's done incredible for being TikTok only, you know, and a lot of other brands like that. We're starting to get into that phase of fully fledged, developed TikTok brands. You know, it's not your fidget spinners or your sweets anymore. It's full brands, you know, that have a really, I think it's like today's version of that artisan market. Joe, where it's like, okay, you're in TikTok shop, the people are asking questions on the product that you've got in your hand, and you're able to answer them questions from day one. You know, and I think like TikTok Live, I think if I was to invest in a brand today, I would like, right, if I'm investing in you need to do at least 60 hours a week on TikTok Live. Seriously. And I think, what's the worst can happen? You know, it's like you get sales. You know, like it's obviously there's some brands that can't be on it, don't be on it, but I think there's ways to make it suitable for you. You know?
Yeah.
I'm laughing, Joe. Do you remember with jewellery brand? Joe was running a jewellery brand, okay?
This is when I was working with Matt Kelly.
And I swear to God, he bought those black gloves. You know, those creepy black gloves that like Michael Jackson, like velvet gloves. Yeah, velvet gloves. And he went on TikTok Live trying it. And there was two of the lads, the last people to ever wear this jewellery. It was like proper Cuban chains and everything else. They were just like holding it up and showing it on TikTok Live. That was a low point. When you went into that, I was like, no, something's gone incredibly wrong. And just
So I had 3 phones propped up, TikTok Live, Instagram Live, and then we were live streaming on the ecom store as well. And I think I got one sale off it. Yeah,
It's mad that we had so
from his mum.
we made Liquid London and we made it as a TikTok brand. You know, so the whole brand concept, I went to this guy in Serbia and I actually said to him, I was like, I want to make a really scummy, like sultry fragrance brand. It's going to have pheromone vibes in it, and go and make it. And he came back to me and says, nah. He says, this is what you're getting. And he came back with this like really sort of high-end pheromone style brand, but the brand is LSD. So the logo is an LSD tab. And like the boxes are all the colours you'll see on LSD.
So we're actually on the website and said the colours reminded us of Happy Stack.
You know, but that was him. Peter and I said, I was like, fuck, I was like, this isn't what I wanted, but it's probably better, you know, because it was all just for TikTok. You know, that was the vibe. But we had people on. We went absolutely boom on TikTok Shop, in July last year, I think, and it was like 55 grand a day from zero. From zero, we had one guy, right, and like just a lad who he booked a holiday to Ibiza, couldn't afford the taxi to the airport. I thought, fuck it, I'll just make videos on TikTok, and he didn't have a ball. He didn't even buy it. He lay in his bed and was like, oh, I took this girl to Starbucks, but she wasn't her profile picture, so I made her pay for the drink. You know, so just a fucking wild. And all the comments are, but he made like 50. He made commission, not revenue, 55 grand in the month. His first month, never made a video before that.
That is mental.
Never made a video, right? TikTok Shops made a case study and once put it on their LinkedIn. We got banned the next day. You know? Seriously, fucking banned us the next day. So we were trying to get into TikTok Shop US, and pheromone fragrances are banned in the US, but we're not a pheromone. We just call ourselves a pheromone fragrance, but we use a chemical that just enhances the smell. So if I spray it on you, it's going to smell different than me, right? But it's not pheromones in the fragrance. They don't have pheromones in the fragrance, but they market it as that. We don't. So we went on to TikTok Shop US, and I was kicking off. I was like, I want to be in for Christmas. You're giving me all this bullshit about policies and stuff. I was like, just let me send my stock there. We'll sort this out. And she was like, oh, a pheromone fragrance are actually banned in the US. So they banned the UK account as well. And it wasn't banned in the UK.
Man, that is a nightmare.
But anyway, I got on a call with one of the policy team and like explained the fact that it was safety tested and all the documents and sent it to them. And they got back, but so obviously the creators, we set our commission really high, so it was 30%. So on a £40 bottle, they were getting about 15 quid.
Yeah.
So it was probably the first TikTok Shop product that actually gave them a fair whack per sale.
Nice.
But obviously they're making all these videos. Like that guy there, he's making like 20 videos a day, and all of a sudden he's not getting a penny. So he obviously straight away thinks we've just got greedy and put it down to zero. You know, and then by that stage we're not reaching out to them because we're trying to deal with it with TikTok and not even thinking, fuck, they all think we're all scammers. And then we haven't got back to that level because that was all it. Because there's TikTok Shop creators, and then there's the creme de la creme. They're really like, oh my God, someone at Liquid London needs to get fired. So that guy he's a phenomenon on TikTok. Wherever he sells will go, but he drops it because he's not making the money, and you can't build that relationship back up. You know, so we're still doing okay. We're doing about I think 4 or 5 grand a day on TikTok Shop now, but them heights were phenomenal. Phenomenal.
If we jump back quickly to TikTok Live, like what formats work?
I think just showing as much of the product as possible and prompting, like have 3 or 4 people in the comments asking questions. Do you know?
Yeah.
Have them asking questions. You know, how long does it last? Does it last longer than my pack or a band? Yeah. It's got 25%. You're not lying. Yeah. You're giving the objections in the comments, and they're just doing that again and again. Eventually, obviously, on TikTok Shops, the first 20 minutes are the most important. If you don't have views in the first 20 minutes, just leave.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to like give your free balls in the first 20 minutes, get comments going. Everything depends on the first 20 minutes. And I think it's just being like, have people on there that's good at talking. You know, so we've got 2 girls and they talk for Ireland. So we just stick them on that, and you don't have to cut this out, by the way, because I tell them all the time. You know, so they just go on and they just chat shite.
Yeah.
Do you know what that gets really like, no matter what time they go live, we'll have plenty of the same people that will go into the comments and just they'll answer the questions now for them, so they're not even doing it. So obviously with the inspired language, we can't say it on TikTok lives, but we can do it on TikTok ads. But the other people answer the questions. It's like, what is 941? And fucking Jemima from down the streets telling them what it is. Yeah. You know, and that's
Unbelievable. It's genius. Yeah.
So that's how we got around it. But again, it's like, I actually prefer that it's slightly harder because it means there's more gap for us. Yeah. You know, so if it was so easy, anyone can do it, you know, in terms of that. Yeah. So it's nice to have them wee barriers in place. Not at the time because you swear for them, but
It's funny that we've gone full circle from like remember the old telly commercials back in the day where they'd be selling the sharpest knife in the world, and there'd be a guy on there, or it'd be like someone like my dad used to buy. He must have had every sharpest knife in the world, like, or every way to cut a fruit. Yeah, there was like 75 ways to cut an apple, like, you know, like different ways to do it. But it was just like, it'd be a Hoover, it'd be someone like what did you call her earlier? Miss Hinch, yeah. It'd be like Miss Hinch on there talking for an hour about how this Hoover sucks up everything.
You're right, actually. Yeah, it's come full circle.
So, but it's like even QVC's on TikTok Shops now.
Yeah.
Do you know what it's like? It is like, and I think another reason why we went TikTok really early was because it was already big in China. And I think China is like the fucking epitome for future.
Oh, big.
Do you know, when it's just whatever's working in China, you just make it work here.
Yeah.
Do you know, and eventually it will.
So if you, sorry.
No, CP&G, the CEO, the new CEO there came out and said they're going to push, they're at like 20% social marketing spend on social media, and they're going to push it to 50% of everything they do. So like, if they're doing it, everyone's starting, like they're last to do it actually. Everyone else is way ahead. So.
Do you know, it's, no matter, like they're very, not just P&G, all them big companies are very slow. Do you know, so they need like Unilever buying Wild. They need to buy Wild because Wild's their source of growth or fastness.
Yeah, exactly. Creativity. Everything.
Yeah.
But so you had, say, Facebook, good CPM, CPAs, early adopters of TikTok. What else did you do? Influencers, did you use them?
We done that really early days, and then we went obviously the standard influencer route, you know, right? So the guy or the girl at 10,000 followers has worked really well. Let's go to the 100.
Yeah.
So, and then
Does that scale linearly in terms of sales and you see?
No, so we went even further. So then all of a sudden we went, right, let's get all the Love Island girls out. As soon as after they leave Love Island, let's go to them. Yeah. We spent 12 grand on one girl. We didn't generate one single sale. Not even the lift to the website. Fuck all.
Do you know what? I think every ecom founder has that story of, you know, 10, 20 grand on an influencer and zero.
It's funny because you'll have one that works really well. Do you know, when like we had one girl, I can't remember her name, but she was from Love Island, but we got her, she was in the previous Love Island, we got her when the next Love Island was on. And like, she was phenomenal. Like, she was £500 a video. You know, she posted it, we could use it. You know, there's no fucking, you know, give me rights to the video. It was just 500 quid, and it ran for a year, like 2 years.
Is that the difference you see in performance with influencers then, is someone who isn't picky will put up the videos versus someone who's like, you're getting one post, it's an image, it's static, and it's very clear that I'm peddling this?
It's hard. I don't know, because obviously you got companies like Wild that do influencers very well. You know, I think, and Be Perfect as well. I think it's more about longevity. You know, so I think no matter how good the influencer is now, if they only post one video, it's full of shit.
Yeah.
You know, so it has to be, like, okay, I'm signing you for 3 months. I need 3 videos a month for 3 months. You know, to give that sort of fruition of, oh, I actually seen Jack use that last month. He does actually use it. You know, and then
More authentic, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, and in reality, it's still made up. It's just over a longer time frame. But it's don't know. It's probably something that we will get back into, but you know, it's not something that we find work.
Yeah. I've heard you speaking previously about white listing, ad creative. Is that a big part of your strategy?
Yeah. So again, something that we done quite a lot before, and we sort of toned it down. No real reason. It's just slightly harder to get a scale. But it works really well, you know, especially if you get like a really good sort of person of following, where, you know, like the TikTok shop angle, if you get them on Sparks, they work quite well. But because it's effort over reward, you know, they take a little bit longer to set up, you know, then you have to go to, you know, I'm going to you and saying, look, we're going to use your profile, but I promise you we don't have access to your DMs. Sure. That's the conversation, you know. So you do that, it works for 2 weeks, then it starts to fatigue, then it boils off. You know, then I have to go back to someone else and do the same thing, and it's like, it's a hard conversation, because even me doing it on my own profile, I'm like, I don't want them actually, you know. It's like, but I know that they don't. Yeah. It's like, what happens? What happens if they do?
I think it's funny you talking about the lads, super affiliate lads talking about. Since then, with Bowl Golf, we were like thinking about, we're like, there's not that many influencers in the golf world. Like, it's a relatively small, it's not like health and beauty or like there's certain ones. And so we're like, how do we build relationships with these people without just getting onto them and saying, here, we'll pay you for posts or whatever. So we're bringing 2 sets of 12 of them to Ireland. Ireland's like golf trip, like dreamland for all these Americans. So we're flying them all over. We're going to bring them, play golf here, come out here, go to the West Coast, play a few places. And we're just going to do golf trips. Like once a month, bring as many of them as we can. And just keep doing that. Because like, if you build a relationship with people, then you can kind of get into having a proper conversation and see how it works.
I think it's also like, I find it, so like we went through a phase of like, right, well, for Thompson Carter, obviously, it's because the more developed fragrance reviewers prefer original content. Do you know, so we found it with them. We're like, right, review our perfume. Do you know, when they all loved it. Some of them were wrong. Do you know, but then you think to yourself, like, put myself in his shoes, put your brother in his shoes of buying golf gear, and you've got this golf influencer wearing a different t-shirt every day. And it's like, I'm now choosing between 1 and 5 brands. When in reality, you go into, you go on to Google search and you see 2 brands. So you've widened that competition by going for this influencer that's a perfume influencer. Do you know, and like, some of the perfume influencers now are fucking crazy. There's like a 12-year-old and he's got, honestly, it's getting to a stage where people insure their perfume collection and it costs more than insuring a watch. Like, it's like, I mean, it's like £500,000 worth of perfume. Do you know, and there might be gifts, there might be that, but they're still worth £300-400.
Yeah.
Like, and it's crazy. And like,
Bottle of Tom Ford nowadays would be 300-400 quid.
Upwards of, there's one, I think the private collection is 800 for some of them, you know, and like, they're not worth 800 quid. They're not. No. I know he makes them, they're not worth 800 quid. You know,
Someone's out in his bedroom in the bowl of cereal.
A little bit Old Spice.
One question we always ask founders and put you in the spot here is, what's the best growth hack that you've had over the last few years?
Come into work an hour early, stay an hour late. I think from a proper growth hack for a brand, spend an extra 2 hours a day. You know, and I think that's a lot can be said about 2 hours extra. And I think that's something that I've sort of used over the years. You know, when things are getting tight or we're having a bad month, if I start, you know, I'll get to the office about 7:30, 8 o'clock. If I get in at 6:30 and I stay at 6:30, naturally it always works out. Do you know, and that could be just spend an extra half hour getting a coffee, or speaking to the operations manager, or speaking to someone for that half hour, or scrolling TikTok. Do you know, but I'm there and something just goes and you're like, fuck. And then you just go and do it. Do you know? And I think that's the not even a hack, that's the easiest thing to do. You know?
Best answer I've ever heard for that question. Genuinely,
How reactive do you think you need to be in ecom today?
I don't think that reactive. Do you know, I think like don't get me wrong, you have to not pivot quite a lot, but like, look at that new the image generation on ChatGPT. That came out, bam, all of a sudden. Do you know, but it's like that, you just need to work that into your flow. Do you know, and I think all that has to be not regimented, but like, you have to have a team of people that can, I'm not going to say don't have an opinion, but have a bit of confidence in the view that you're going, and saying, right, well, if we do this, that frees up your time. Not so much does away with you. Yeah. You know, but you have to, that person has to learn to adapt, or it will be without you. Yeah. Do you know, and I think that's a key segment of, you know, like when we bring on agencies, we have to know, right, what are you doing to push results further? Because in a year's time, I'll be able to pay 50 quid a month to get all my campaigns done, all my flows done. What are you doing for 4,000 a month that generates that's me another 395? You know, I think it's just important to always have their finger in the pulse. You know, so I don't think so much be reactive. I think just always knowing what's going on, and that comes from like Twitter, it comes from events, it comes from doing podcasts, it comes from listening to podcasts. You know, and you don't have to be doing work to stay in front. Like, I scroll, get the kids to bed about 7, I'll scroll TikTok for an hour. Joe, and I'll my notes are covered in TikTok videos. Joe, and you learn so much doing nothing. Do you know what I think?
You'll always come in the morning with notes full in your phone.
My phone's full of it. Yeah,
here we go.
It's YouTube. It's from like being on YouTube, watching a video, watching a clip, something sparking in your head. It makes you like think of some new idea.
Yeah. It's in the fucking team hates you the next
Yeah, completely.
When I see Jack coming in with his notes item, fuck's sake.
But sorry, the biggest problem is it's tough to get away from it. Do you know, you're on your Instagram and you're getting ads for your own brand, and you're like, I just want a moment of peace here.
It's funny, like talking about scrolling TikTok and coming up with ideas. Before this, we were looking up some of your ads, and you had that one viral ad where you're like you're getting interviewed and someone starts giving out to you about your fragrances, and you get up and storm out. And I was like, bowl golf, perfect. We turn up to a golf club.
You call it my ads, you fucker.
I was like, That's it. I was like, in golf gear, you're not meant to wear. Someone tells us to leave, and we fucking do something and leave or whatever.
Burn the golf course.
Burn the golf course.
It's funny because that was a full 8-hour day of shoots, right? And then they bring up this ad that they want to do, and going, nah, guys, I don't feel comfortable. I'm not doing it. And then after me and the actress, we actually get a wee bit arsey anyway, because she keeps, we were just joking like that. And then they're like, no, like, I think this would be really good. And then Aaron goes, right, do it without a script, right? Because I was told, right, learn these scripts, didn't fucking read them. And then on the day, I've got them sitting beside me. So then we go at it. That was about 30 minutes we went at it for each other. And then I nearly took the door off the hinges 3 or 4 times. Because obviously I've got the mic there, so I'm slamming the door, but keeping it close enough to get the slack. But that was the best. I think that was the only performing that whole day. Was it
best performing as well? One of your best ever? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do brands need that though? That step change, something to go viral, something that's a bit different out there rather than just doing static images, UGC.
I think it all works. Do you know? I think that old saying about you have to be seen 7 times to make it worthwhile is still relevant. But I think it's like it now has to be done in different points. Like it can't just be 7 ads.
Yeah.
It has to be like, like you need to send that to me going, oh, have you seen this about the Essence Vault? Or he's getting slack. But that's still another viewpoint. Yeah. Do you know? And like I got sent it like 40 times going like, oh my God, son, I'm sorry you had to sit through that. And I was like, it was a joke. Like, that was my stepmom. You know.
Oh, I love it. Just like touching on, you mentioned earlier about the 3PL and like obviously the group and being able to start. How much did you say you could start a fully fledged brand for?
Between 7 and 12 grand.
7 and 12 grand. Like, where do you go from now? Is that the aim? Is it a hook group but starting from scratch rather than acquire it?
So hook group has always been the sort of the vision, you know. So I've always said like, what I want to do in my head is get to the stage that we can IPO and then decide if we want to IPO. So obviously Matt Molden's been obviously horrifically against ever having IPO'd. Yeah. So that sort of plays into what the philosophy we want to do. Do you know whether that's taking on private equity, which I think is very likely in the next sort of year, and sort of giving us that 5-year plan of getting to sort of 200-300 million revenue a year, which we're nowhere close yet. We're about 45-50 million a year now. But
incredible still.
Once we get there, then we can start making them big plays, like spending 2 million on automation and stuff like that. But right now we can't do that, So we're very limited in sort of how we get there, apart from just time, because we're consumable good. We don't have to worry about always having to have a CAC of 17 quid. It can always just be time. Time. People will run out of this. They'll need more, they'll buy more. Yeah. That's grand.
Are you totally bootstrapped up until now?
Yeah, so still 100%.
Well, one question I was going to ask you was, you talked about getting to 200-300 million, getting in a position where you could IPO. Why would you not focus more on, say, the big brand, the Essence Vault, and trying to get from where you are today, maybe going into the US or going more international versus going to launch new brands under the Jack Group umbrella? Was that just an easier decision to make?
I think it's more me. It's like, right, well, I've got this to 40 million. Yeah. So is it easier getting this to 400, or is it easier redoing the 40 million? And it's a group basis as well. Like, God forbid, something happens and this hurts someone, or the glass breaks in transit, they cut themselves, and
de-risk it.
It de-risks a wee bit, but it's not. It wasn't really about the de-risk. It was about the playbook. It's like, right, well, we've got this playbook. We know it's worked because it's worked before. We know we work with fragrance. Let's do a fragrance first, and then let's run other brands through it.
Yeah.
So the end goal would be, once we get to that sort of 100, 200 million mark, we'll start buying brands. But only buying them when they're struggling. But the second that we plug them into us, they're not struggling anymore. Yeah. So say their CACs, their fulfillment costs are 20%. Right, well, we know our fulfillment costs are 8%. Yeah. So there's 12% margin straight away. MPD, and the same.
It all comes back to own manufacturing, because if you're using a factory in China and you want to do a luxury version of the product you're selling, you probably have to find a new factory. Whereas you guys have everything, you just need different ingredients.
Yeah, distribution as well. So like the fact that we have our 3PL, like if you're with a different 3PL in the mainland, you're paying 20-25% of your finished product in fulfillment. You're paying your storage fees, your pick fees, and you can, like an accountant can't sit down and say your cost is 20% because it could be anything from 20 to 30. If you consider most ecom brands, they're working on 5% margins. Do you know? So like that's fucking wild. So we offer fixed pricing. So everything. So if we have a jewelry brand, I'll give them a fixed price for Ireland, UK, Australia, Northern Ireland, and that'll be the price they pay. No storage fees, no pick fees. I don't care if the customer is 1 or 10, same price. We take that sort of accountancy away from them and say that's your finished good. So they can then get an EBITDA calculator and literally put fucking 15%.
That's nice for them, to be fair. Yeah. That's like a lovely way of doing it. Yeah. It's funny talking about what your idea with Jack Group and stuff, and eventually buying brands, having all of these private equity finance people having tried to do that playbook. Yeah. And like what became so apparent was unless you've ran brands, unless you operationally understand how to do it, unless you buy them within the same demographic and stuff like that, you're kind of just wasting your time, because there are all these pitches of we'll get economies of scale and everything else, just never play.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's the same thing. It's like I'll never be able to do that unless it physically works in that calculation. Yeah. Do you know, if they're paying 24% and I can do it for 8, that's my margin that I'm buying. Yeah. Do you know, so I can't go around and say I'm going to buy that brand, because first of all, I don't know their ICP, I don't know their NPD flows, I don't know what their plans for the future are, but I do know if I can save money there, I can turn that profitable. Do you know, and that's a massive...
Yeah, it's super. That's why you mean they like underperforming brands that you can save them on 3PL, you can save them on manufacturing, you can save them a little bit on cat side things or whatever else.
But I still think like the general brand owner is still very unsure of their costs. Sure. Yeah. So our biggest... So when we were trying to grow the 3PL, we're not anymore, it's sort of at capacity. When we were trying to grow it, we were going to brands going, right, how much are you paying per order? And they were giving us a price of £4, say, and going, there's no way they're paying £4.
It's not possible.
So then I have to say, I'll tell you about this one after, but I say, right, give me your last invoice, and then for the same period, give me how many orders were sent out. Right, and then by that simple calculation, I get their cost per order. And I'm going, did you know your access? And this, honest to God, every single time, do you know you're paying $7.50 an order? And I go, no, we're paying £4. And I go, bullshit. And I goes like, there's your invoice that you give me. There's the order volume you give me. That's what you're paying per order. And they're going, oh my God, I'm not even profitable. Yeah. And you're like,
well, obviously.
Do you know? But that's because, like, goods in, so you get your stuff in from China, it's fucking 2 40-foot containers. I think there's one 3PL in England that are charging like £10 per box, regardless of the size. They could have 2 items or 20 items, £10. So you think of that 2 40-foot containers, that's nearly fucking 4 or 5 grand. Yeah. They're not considering on their thing, and they're seeing the big lump, and it's like, oh, it's all the stock, but it's there now, so it's safe. No, it's not, because you're paying per space, per pallet, per fucking breath. You know, God forbid you go visit because you have to charge extra for that. Do you know, and it's wild, it's crazy. But I think like a lot of 3PLs right now are going sort of bust because they haven't got that sort of analogy. Don't get me wrong, we don't make any money at 3PL. We do it purely to get cheaper pricing elsewhere. You know, and that's worked for us. You know, so if we look at the 3PL by itself, standalone, it's probably break even, minus 5%, but it's made an extra 10%.
Yeah, it's kind of the Amazon model where they have AWS because they needed to support their own compute and then realize that actually we can outsource or we can give this to other providers. Yeah.
But it's crazy because I went over to one of these, the biggest 3PL in England, and with the full thought of we were going to outsource to them, and like they didn't have a fucking clue about D2C. They didn't know. They didn't have a clue.
That's what I was interested in. Like, you've a pretty big team, you know, over 200 people, which is a lot of fulfillment and manufacturing. But how do you think about that hiring and building out a team versus let's go external, let's get an agency in?
I think the biggest thing is brand owners need to look at contribution margin. So they need to think, right, if I spend this £1, I need to make £5, or I need to make £4. Judging by 25% contribution margin. Yeah. Or if I save £1, I also have £1. So if I need to get £1, I either need to spend 5 to get that £1, or I need to save £1.
Yeah.
You know, so once you look at it that way, then all of a sudden, everything becomes a lot more clear in terms of, right, well, if I spend 25 grand a month in this creative agency, they need to generate from their ads alone, not even considering ad spend, 125 grand for me to get that money back. When you look at it that way, all these, we've scaled to 200 grand. It's like, well, I know you charge 20 grand. That 200 grand, you're not making your money back.
Yeah.
Do you know? And no one thinks about it that way.
No.
Do you know?
Is there anything you don't want to lose control of? So like you're in a unique position where you do the manufacturing yourself, but other parts of the business, marketing, do you always look to hire internally or?
Yes and no. Like, you know, we're very proud of our customer service. So until we fucked up our fulfillment in December, customer service, our Trustpilot score was the highest in the UK and for the niche.
Sorry to interrupt you, but we do a thing normally where we do mean reviews, where we look at a brand.
Make sure you could charge them cameras and heels.
It was actually tough looking at yours, like, because it's very good in general.
It's funny because it's even better because most of ours are not product based. You know, you'll get some that are product based, of course, but most of them are shipping based. You know, so we had a really, really hard time over Q4. We obviously had the storm up north on Black Friday. You know, so we lost. We didn't know where about 30,000 orders were.
Wow.
Do you know?
Yeah.
You don't want to replace them.
Yeah.
You just hope that they'll get there. It's like.
Sorry, I interrupted you there, but that was customer service. That was one thing.
Customer service is one thing we wouldn't want to. We want to stay in control of. Like we went sort of against the grain. We had a customer service AI tool. We bent off, because it works when everything's working.
Yeah. Okay.
But when everything's not working, all of a sudden customers are going, "Where the fuck's my order?" And it's going, "Oh, hello." That's like, it doesn't read the room.
No.
So that was one problem. Creative, I always like to stay sort of close to creative. I think that's the biggest thing. Isn't just more creative; it's like more harder to replicate creative.
Yeah.
So like stuff that we can be known for, like that podcast. Even if our competitors sort of recreate that, still going to be ours. So I think that's the most important part, and like the fatigue side of it. If we're constantly replicating stuff that's already been done, so like your sort of like your fake articles, your 5 reasons why, everyone does them. So you run them for 2 weeks, they're fatigued, they're done. Whereas the podcast like that'll run for like 6 months, I say. So that'll keep going, and cost the same. Do you know what I mean? Manufacturing, fulfillment, MPD. I think very important that we stay in a baseline of that. Where we have our supply chain sort of logged in for that.
Yeah.
What do you outsource then, in general? What are the things that...
Right now, very, very, very little. Emails, we outsource emails. So we outsource emails just based off, it's a fixed cost, and it's very... Emails can be very time intensive. If you want to replicate that team, you have to have your account manager, your copywriter, your designer, a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people. Especially when you consider like holidays and stuff like that, where...
Yeah.
There's probably more fixed return on email too, so it's easier to justify the cost if you know.
It's a lot easier to distinguish what's good. So 30% revenue. If it's not coming from Klaviyo, it needs to be 30%. So it's easy to be challenged.
Good baselines there to judge off. Yeah.
Which some areas can be hard. Like if for paid, we're not at 4 ROAS. Can't just be a bad day on Facebook. Or it can be sunny in Northern Ireland and in England, everyone's outside.
Yeah.
CPMs are higher. That sort of thing's not really as cliches of control, but with email,
You know what? Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Sorry, on the product side, do you ever bring in people from big fragrance companies, or
No, fragrance wise, we always stayed. It's ownership. It's me and my brother, and we control fragrance. So like, we have like a few fragrance houses that we'll talk to. And we're the ones that decide who we go to and stuff like that. So it's like sometimes the price are control because like, say a Broxton can be thousands per kilo. And that price just has to be high. But we eat it because we price everything the same. So we know we will make more money on that than we will that. That's fine because they both sell.
It's probably, your ambition to build something bigger probably forces you to make sure you know how to do everything internally compared to some other people where they have one brand and they haven't really thought about building, say, a hook group or something like that, where you need to control everything. You need to make sure you're on top of every margin. Or
I think it's because there's so much, like, there's so many things, like, if you look down like an EBITDA calculator, you've got your fixed costs, you've got variable costs, you've got your Shopify rates, you've got finance costs. One of them change, do you have too many of them change that way, all of a sudden you're minus 10%.
Yeah.
Do you know, and it just needs to be, if you look at things, not so much as control, but in a high level, have a key answer to everything, you can determine them. Do you know, and it's like, when you go back from trip whale, so the issue with trip whale is you can't really distinguish things on a country by country basis. Do you know, so like, this is embarrassing to say, but we were advertising and selling to Switzerland, and we knew about the administration costs because there's customs in Switzerland. We didn't realise the fucking returns rate was 20%. You know, so we lost 500 grand last year in Switzerland. You know, but that obviously came from me not even considering to look at country by country. I just looked at general returns rate and I went, oh, it's up a wee bit, but it's only 0.%, whereas 20% of it came from Switzerland. You know, and I'm like, fucking shit it. You know, but you don't see that in trip wheel. You don't see that in like a competitor trip wheel. You see it in a Google spreadsheet with everything laid out. You know.
Love it. We have you back on next year when you're at 200. Love it. Cheers for coming on, mate. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, buddy. Cheers. Cheers, lads. Thanks for that, guys. Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Class.